Hi, my name is Matt Walker. I am a professor of neuroscience at the University of California, Berkeley, and I am also the author of the book Why We Sleep. And I'm here to speak about some tips for getting better sleep and also some of the bad things that happen when you don't get enough sleep. So many of the things that people use to try and help them sleep inadvertently are actually harming and hurting their sleep. Two good examples are probably alcohol and marijuana. Many people will have a little nightcap in the evening and they think that having a drink in the evening helps them fall asleep. It's actually not true. Alcohol is a class of drugs that we call the sedatives, and sedation is not sleep. So what you're doing when you drink in the evening is actually just knocking out your cortex, and you're going into this sedation-like state. You're not going into natural sleep. There are two other problems with alcohol, unfortunately, and I'm so sorry to be giving you this bad news, but firstly, alcohol will actually litter your sleep with many more awakenings throughout the night. And so you won't feel restored when you wake up the next morning by your sleep. You won't feel refreshed. The problem and the danger is that many people don't remember waking up so much throughout the night when they've been drinking. So they don't realize that it was the alcohol disrupting their sleep. They don't put two and two together. The final thing about alcohol is that it's very good at blocking your REM sleep, or your dream sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. And we know that REM sleep is essential for a variety of functions, including emotional and mental health. And so alcohol will actually remove that dream sleep, or it will decrease it significantly, blocking that essential critical sleep. And I should also note, by the way, how essential is that REM sleep? Well, studies done back in the 1980s, some really quite shocking studies, demonstrated that if you deprive rats of rapid eye movement sleep, they will die almost as quickly as they would from total food deprivation. That's how essential that dream sleep is, and it's that dream sleep that you block with alcohol. What about, though, marijuana? Well, unfortunately, the news isn't so great there. A lot of people will again will use marijuana to help them relax and sort of just take away some of that anxiety that's preventing them from falling asleep. And certainly marijuana does seem to hasten the speed with which you fall asleep. But unfortunately, marijuana, like alcohol, but through actually a different biological mechanism, will also block your dream sleep. And if you're not getting that critical REM sleep, you can actually become more anxious, even more depressed the following day, and therefore people start to seek out more marijuana to sort of medicate those symptoms that the marijuana is causing because of the sleep disruption. So the advice right now is not to think of marijuana as a sleep aid. One of the other common aspects of marijuana is CBD oil, which is the non-psychoactive component of marijuana. THC is the sort of psychoactive part of marijuana. CBD, which is an oil that people use, a cannabinoid. Those studies have not been really done in a particularly detailed way, but from what we can tell from the limited data, CBD, the non-psychoactive form of marijuana, actually doesn't seem to impact sleep. So probably a little bit too early to make the definitive claim, but at least that seems to be the emerging story for CBD. So what happens if you've pulled an all-nighter or you've had a short night of sleep? Maybe you went to bed too late and you need to wake up early again. Can you get back that lost sleep? Unfortunately, this is one of those myths. Sleep is not like the bank, in the sense that you can't accumulate a debt and then hope to pay it off at a later point in time. And let me give you the evidence to make that point very clear. If I were to take an individual and deprive them of a whole night of sleep, 8 hours of lost sleep, and then I give them all of the recovery sleep that they want on a second night or a third night, yes, we see that they sleep longer. They try to sleep it off, as it were. But do they get back all of that 8 hours that they've lost? And the answer is no. Even if we keep measuring them, they never get back that sleep that they lost. So you cannot accumulate a debt and then hope to pay it off at a later point in time. And many of us do this in society. We're short sleeping during the week, and then we binge with our sleep at the weekend. It's what we call social jet lag, or what I sometimes describe as sleep bulimia. It's this binge purge sort of profile. Now, there was a recent study, a very interesting study, where they looked at the mortality risk of short sleep. And firstly, what they found is a quite shocking result. Those people who are sleeping 5 hours a night have a 65% higher likelihood of dying at any time, increase of 65% in terms of mortality risk. However, if you get another group of people who are short sleeping, maybe just 5 or 6 hours a night during the week, but then sleep a little longer at the weekend, you can actually reduce some of that mortality risk. But there's a danger here. We know that that sort of social jet lag, binging at the weekend, short sleeping during the week, is associated not necessarily with a shorter life, but it's associated with a far less healthy life. You're far more likely to suffer from diabetes, to be obese, to have poor cardiovascular health and have cardiovascular outcomes. And if you look at that study, even though some people were trying to sleep back at the weekend some of that which they'd lost during the week, they were almost twice as likely to report being in very poor health relative to people who do what we generally recommend, which is consistently get good 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, both during the week and the weekend. So the recommendation right now is to get consistent sleep, whether it's the weekend or the weekday. Keep doing that consistently. Unfortunately, sleep is not like a credit system, not that you would wish for, unfortunately. Should you use a snooze button? Well, certainly what I've said before is that regularity is critical, going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. And certainly using alarms can help you do that. And I use the word plural there, alarms. What I mean is not to have multiple awakenings in the morning. I mean, we should all set a to-bed alarm. You know, think about the time that you need to go to bed to get that 8-hour sleep opportunity, and then set the alarm maybe sort of 15 minutes before, and that's just the call. It's sort of like last orders at a bar. Now is the time to sort of start preparing to get ready for this sleep event. You can also, by the way, just sort of before sleep, in the last hour, you can sort of get into your pajamas, your sleeping clothes, brush your teeth, floss your teeth, do all of those things that end up taking away sort of an additional 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Get those in ahead of time. But what about the snooze button though? Unfortunately, it's probably not a good idea, because there is some data that I discuss in the book where if you look at the cardiovascular response to an alarm, it's actually quite a stressful event for your cardiovascular system. We see a spike in heart rate, stress chemicals increase. Now, it's fine to use an alarm just that one time in the morning to wake you up, but you shouldn't really be hitting the snooze button, because then you are repeatedly assaulting your cardiovascular system. And you may think, well, you know, I only hit it maybe sort of 3 or 4 times, you know, how bad is that? Well, maybe for that one day it's not bad, but if you're doing that every single day, every week, every month, every year, every decade, across a lifetime, you can imagine the type of additional cardiovascular strain that that places on people. So use the alarm, that's fine, but try to use it once and then get up and have a good day.